All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with tonight's NASCAR Cup Series post-race media availabilities. We are now joined by Jeff Gordon, Vice Chairman of Hendrick Motorsports. Jeff, obviously a very special win here tonight for Hendrick Motorsports at Martinsville Speedway, the site of the team's very first victory 40 years ago. If you would start us off just taking us through the emotion of this victory here tonight and the significance not only to the team but to you personally.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously pretty surreal. I felt like I was in the car there with about 60 laps to go, because it reminded me of when you're leading and you feel like you're going to do something really, really special, and you start thinking about, the moment and what it means, and you start getting choked up a little bit. And then I was like, stop. I can't think that. We got a long way to go here. And usually it's not that easy, and it wasn't. So, but there's just so many things wrapped up in the emotions of what today meant, from just the time spent with Rick and Linda planning for 40th anniversary and talking about all of our drivers who have won and what Martinsville means to this company, and planning this day and having all of our folks here, and then the day comes, and the weekend comes, and you just go, how in the world did it all happen like this? I know our folks are super talented, and they work really, really hard. And I know that I'm kind of glad we got beat kind of bad last year in the fall, because I think that really made them go to work and get ready for this event. So I don't even know where to begin. Honestly, there's just so many things that are special. I just immediately looked up on the hill and saw all those ruby red shirts just going nuts, and now they're out there waiting to have a picture with our whole organization. You just cannot plan it any better and script it any better. And of course, when I talked to Rick, just hearing his excitement and joy of how special this was, how proud he is of us, and this incredible legacy that he's put in kind of our hands to nurture and take care of and try to keep it going.
All right, we're going to go ahead and open it up to questions. We're going to start front here with John Newby, and we'll work our way around the room.
Thank you. John Newby, NBC Sports. So Williams won 9 of the last 44 races. I was just curious, from your perspective, what is the biggest factor in him starting such a tear?
Yeah, it's a great question, just because, when you look at his background, you look at how he got here, and how challenging and difficult this car is. Of course, first, everybody talks about how hard he works, but he really does. The whole team, I think, really goes deep into the details, and I think because Williams willing to do that, then Rudy pushes him, and then he pushes Rudy, and goes down the list of the engineers and everybody that takes to bring fast race cars. But the pit crew is executing well too. So right now they're in this like mode of, I don't want to say, cruise control. It's not cruise control, but they're just in sync. They just believe in one another. They go to the racetrack to win, and I think they're pretty disappointed qualifying, but practice went really well, and they just made a few adjustments and just battled all day today, because it wasn't easy to pass, and so you just say to yourself, well, one, he's just super talented, he wants it really bad, he works really hard at it, and he's got a great team around him, and that's, as a driver, that's what you hope for, right? You hope you get in that position to showcase what you're capable of doing in the right equipment, the right team.
Okay, and then just kind of following up on that, the last few weeks, Rudy and William were both very blunt about their struggles at Richmond, Martinsville. Does it make it more satisfying from your perspective, seeing them finally, I know he's won at Martinsville before, but getting through and just kind of breaking through with that dominant final stage?
Listen, you want to win at every track. You want to win early. The Daytona 500 is amazing. It's a great way to get the season started, but it's not what you consider, the real kind of meat of what it takes to win a championship. So I think they realize how important the tracks that they've struggled on mean to the championship, especially this one. So what I just love their way of going about it, and it's fun to watch, and they're not going to stop till they win a championship and until they win another one after that. So really proud of those guys.
Let's go to Kelly Crandall next.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Jeff, two things. First off, how many people were off of turn 2? Do you know? Larson said it was like 1,500.
I mean, that's the last number that I heard. I mean, that's employees, family members. The coolest part about this whole thing is that, one, Rick agreed to do it. Clay, opened it up to be able to do. But also, it wasn't just, hey, come for free. It was bring a family member. And if you want more tickets, then we got a really good discounted rate on more tickets, and they bought more, right? So, I mean, we expected, I don't know, maybe 500 people, and you just don't know until you put that invite out to the group and they start RSVPing. And I remember, one day it was 400, and the next day it was 700, and the next day it was 900, and it just kept. Every day we're like, well, we're gonna have 700. No, oh, really? 900? So it's just to see our folks rally behind this milestone and this moment, this day, and get on buses early this morning and come up here, and they listen. The music was going; they were partying up there pretty early, so they had a good time. And to be able to cap that off with the victory, like what this is going to do for our company is incredible, right? To be able to have them that engaged with a day like today, our history, but also making history at the same time.
What you said a minute ago about you thought or you felt like you were inside the car the last 50, 60 laps. I'm sure it's not the first time that you've been on, since you've retired, that you've envisioned driving. But to have that emotional of a response because of the moment, have you had that one before where you really felt like you were in the moment and what it would be like to be in the driver's seat?
And it's, when I say that, it's not even the driving part, it's the emotion part, right? It's what does it mean to you about working with your team and how hard you know that they work and what the moment means, like this accomplishment. There's not a person in our organization didn't realize winning today how much that was going to mean to Rick Hendrick, Linda Hendrick, to Hendrick Motorsports. And gosh, I mean, you look at William, he's been stepping it up at the big milestone wins too for this company. He won 300. Matter of fact, I know I got to throw out a Rudy, am I wrong in saying this? That was the chassis from the 300th win?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, you can...
You're not getting it back yet.
Well, we tried to get it back, didn't we? They wouldn't let us, but so it's just super cool things and stats and things. There's so much that's contributing to what makes days like today special. Listen, I didn't know if I was going to like being in this role, working as much as I am. Meaning these guys work hard. I don't work that hard, but from being a driver to basically a desk job and being in the office every day, that's not where I envisioned my life going. But days like today and weeks like this and years like what we're already off to and celebrating makes it like beyond what I could ever imagine and dream of. So I'm in like the ultimate position, and these guys, make us all look good. So it's cool. It's fun to be in that role right now.
Before we continue, we've also now been joined by Rudy Fugle, crew chief of the number 24 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet. We will go next to Jacob Seelman.
Jacob Seelman, Raceface Digital. I'll start with Jeff. When you joined Hendrick Motorsports in 1992, there was some success there, but could rookie Jeff Gordon or early Cup Series career Jeff Gordon have ever envisioned the journey that this team would take and where it is now?
I mean, of course I couldn't. I wasn't thinking that far ahead and that deep. I just wanted to drive race cars and try to get in the best equipment I possibly could. And, if you know much about the story, I mean, one of my roommates at that time was working at Hendrick Motorsports in the engineering department, R&D department, and he kept telling me, man, I'm telling you, we're on to something, like new chassis and just cool things that they were doing. And he was always telling me about how amazing Hendrick Motorsports was. And then it was just like a year and a half later, I'm sitting in front of Rick Hendrick talking to him about driving his race car. And of course, I didn't have the ability to know what they had beyond my roommate. But Ray Evernham was the guy I trusted that knew better than anybody. And I'll just never forget the first time I talked to him after he visited Hendrick Motorsports. He's like, if you can't win there, you can't win anywhere. So the resources and the pieces were in place. Maybe they were just on the cusp. But I mean, I remember watching Ricky Rudd, win races and come so close to win the championship before I got there. And so I think they were right there, and they had won some big races. It was just putting all the pieces together to put it into a championship caliber organization. But once that happened, to me, it's just never slowed down. It's never stopped since then. So, no, I certainly couldn't imagine in '92 when I signed with Hendrick. But I don't think a lot of people did. Matter of fact, I got criticized for making that move. If you know the history, and so. But to me, I only know one home, and this place, like, it's just amazing, right? Every day I walk through the buildings and just in awe of what's been created there by Rick and Linda and what these guys do with the resources.
And for Rudy, William came in here yesterday after qualifying, and I could tell he was frustrated with where they were starting, but even amid that, he was so confident in the race car that you guys had. But the pit call ultimately was what let you guys flip that at the end. Was that spur of the moment? Was that, as the final stage played out, what you saw as your only chance? I mean, what all went into behind the decision?
No, I think... honestly, we all were talking, as teammates, what lap we were going to pit, and I thought that was the lap we were pitting on. Ended up being a lap early, but it didn't end up hurting. Like, I don't think it hurt them. We passed them on track. Like, he had enough race car, and William did an amazing job of being aggressive, and the lap cars just perfectly, and he went and took the lead. So, I mean, I appreciate everybody saying it's the pit call, but I really look at William is driving from fifth to first, and those first couple laps after the tire change, and that's. I mean, he's just he's on it. He was on it today, and we didn't qualify well yesterday, but our race car was really good in practice. We were really happy with our race car last week. It was just a really good, workman's type day last on Easter Sunday. But this is big steps for us at short tracks. We stunk there last year, so we're working our way to what we need to have for the playoffs, which are the championships won at short tracks.
Go up front to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. This is for Jeff and maybe Rudy, if you have something you want to add to this. Jeff, you noted earlier just the struggles here last fall, and for as much success as Martinsville, as Hendrick had at Martinsville, I would say that was a race where you guys got punched in the face. And so I would ask, what is it like to be at Hendrick Motorsports when you get punched in the face?
Well, it happens. It definitely does. But I think most of us in life, right, when we struggle, we have challenges. I think those are sort of the lessons you learn the most from. I know that's a bit of a cliche, but it's true, and that's what I know I've experienced that myself in going to a track, especially when you go to a track that you think you should run good at. You feel like you've run good in the past and you don't, and it gets you scratching your head. But the best rise to the occasion. They take that and they work really hard to make sure it doesn't happen again. And that's what I see in Rudy and William and this team. That they weren't going to settle for that. And whether they came here and just threw something at it that failed, but they weren't going to come back here the way that they were before. They were going to come here with something that was different and something that they felt like they could succeed with, and if they didn't, they're going to learn from it. And that's, I mean, even the pit call, whether he came in the lap he was supposed to or not, it was still risky, right, to come in under green, and our group started the cycle in a way. I mean, there were a couple that came before us, but they were behind us, right? So, I love the risk taking and the confidence and the communication, not just with Rudy and his team, but the way that they're communicating with their teammates to make some of those calls.
Yeah, all I'm going to add is that when you kind of see our strength off of turn 2 today, and we have all those people pushing for us, and that's what it was, all off season. You have all those employees, all their families, all the hard work over the off season. It wasn't an off season; it was hard work and working harder than we do during the regular season. So. When if I was a competitor and looked up off turn 2 and saw all those people there, I'd be intimidated by that, and we get pumped up by that today. It was pretty amazing coming out of the trailer, and getting ready to do adjustments, and all those people already there. 7 buses worth of people, 1,500 people. So just proud to have all those people behind us and helping us.
And also for you, Rudy, is certainly this has been quite a run for you guys since last year with 9 wins in 44 races, which in an era of supposed to be parity, that's a remarkable record. How do you feel like what William has done to be able to get to this point, and also for you, because it, just as you talk about the 1,500 people, if he doesn't get better, you don't get better, then some of those opportunities slip away. What is it that you both have excelled at or gotten better at in the last year plus to take advantage of these situations?
Yeah, I think it's the experience of our team getting together and getting used to racing each other. So this is start of year 4, and we've always believed in each other. We've had each other's backs more and more, but sometimes you got to prove it, and then the team just grows with you, and that's just what it is. But we're gonna enjoy this for a little bit, but I could already see the determination on his face, and I'm already thinking about Texas a little bit. So, you're just afraid to. I'm afraid that you're not going to be good enough to keep your job, and that's how I race and work every day.
Keep thinking that way, Rudy. Yeah. It's a good negotiating tactic for me.
Thank you.
We'll stay up front to Bob.
Bob Parker, Shock Sports, for Jeff and Rudy, if you want to answer this as well. William could drive through traffic and nobody else could. So how does that happen? And what did you see he was able to do that nobody else seemed to be able to do today?
Well, I wouldn't call it that easy, Bob. I was sitting down there in turns 1 and 2. I was on the 5 box today and had a great view of it, and I saw how William was driving, and everybody, driving through there. I'll say a couple of things. One, they had a great race car and confidence in practice. I talked to both Rudy and William and other guys, and they were all felt good about their car. And even though qualifying didn't go well, and you're deep in the field, you got 400 laps to try to get there. They also have an amazing pit crew that I think they can rely on. So you got to rely on every aspect of your race team to go do that, and you got to do it one at a time. One position at a time, one decision at a time, one lap at a time. And so, yeah, I saw William pass cars, and I was impressed. The first run, if you notice, the groove wind up, laid some rubber, and it seemed like more cars could pass in that first run. And so they made a good step there. I don't know what kind of adjustments that Rudy made on that first stop, but they had a good pit stop, right, and made another little chunk. It's like just these little chunks they kept taking all day long. The time when he truly passed was that last green flag stop, right? And I think what's really interesting about that is if you just think of not having double file restart to go try to pass, but because you're fighting the guy on the outside, you're fighting for your position, the guy behind you. But when it's just one-on-one with you, I don't want to call it clean air, but cleaner air, I think it really showed whose car had the strengths. And I think William had been working all day long, searching different lines, working with that, and it, I think it really showed up there. After that green flag stop, he was able to turn underneath some guys and clear them, and right then I was like, I knew his car was good, wow, I was super impressed. And then I thought, okay, he's going to burn the tires off of it. He's gone too hard. He's stretched it out too far. And the 11 started putting heat on the 5, and here comes the 12, and we're in lap traffic, and I'm like, 50-something to go. And that was right. I went from 60 to go, getting emotional, to 50 to go, going, oh, God, we're not going to win this. But he just, he did an incredible job working traffic and keeping the tires on it. And, he's just driving with confidence right now and using his ability. So it's fun. It's fun to watch, I just, I'm going to go through it some more after I leave here, I'm sure, but to me, that was the moment, right? Like Rudy said, passing those cars in that opportunity, getting by the 11, right? But I didn't think he was going to be able to go up there and get by the 9 and 5 like he did, but he did, and so how he did that, you'll have to talk to this guy.
The first run of the race was, and it usually is here, if you have your balance right, you can drive and pass some cars, and I was, praying that we hit the balance and that we had a green flag run, and we did. That got us in the hunt, and then everything after that, like Jeff said, is just little bits. Once you get in the top 8, there's not enough difference. It's just try not to make a mistake. And I think we had one bad run. Stage 2 was our worst run of the day. We lost a spot. And everything else, we just kind of started working on it and going forward. So you also, when you start further back, you actually get some advantage because you're not afraid to work on your car. You know that what it takes to pass people a little bit more than if you start first and third. It's sometimes you're scared to mess with your stuff too much. So it was an advantage for us to go through the field that way in different little spurts.
The only other thing I want to add to that is what I was alluding to earlier. I sat down there in the corner and I watched how difficult it was for him to pass cars. It didn't come easy. There was plenty of times where he was stuck. Right. Just once behind his teammate, another time behind some other guys, and just kept working and working and working. And whether you cool your tires down, come back, whatever it was, and then there at the end, in that long run, the lap cars, right? That gets frustrating, and you know that you got a good race car, and you know that you got a decent lead, but now you can't pass somebody because they're wanting to stay on the lead lap. They're fighting you hard, and just keeping your cool about you in that situation, I think was pretty critical in that moment.
Okay, as you see, we have our race-winning driver, William Byron, here as well. Any more questions for Jeff or Rudy? All right, we have time for 2 more. We'll go Davey and then we'll cut loose Jeff and Rudy and get to William. I think, Jeff, I think we have a couple more for you, Jeff. Oh. Sorry.
When I hear you say that, I felt like that was like basically throwing the checkered flag. Sorry.
You jumped the restart.
I did. I jumped. He didn't. I wanted him to, but he didn't.
I'm by the book.
Good for you.
Sorry, Jeff. Davey with Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. I assume that you guys have talked to Mr. H by now. What was the reaction from him?
Yeah, it was. He clearly had a lot going on with people at home. People texting him because when I called him, and he picked up right away. All I heard was background noise, and then I was like, "Are you there? Are you there? Are you there?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm here. Oh my God, that's amazing!" So he was just super excited, so proud. And he had. You guys may have heard about having the knee surgery, and he's super bummed out that he couldn't be here. And just he kept texting me throughout the whole race and the whole day. We were sending him videos of the folks up on the hill and the cars and the guys all in the same uniform, and just all weekend long he was just really, really happy with the way that we were coming here to celebrate this moment. And then throughout the day it was and he's super competitive, right? So it's, man, cars are looking great, we got good speed, and then it was, what happened, why are we fading? So it's just real up and down in that sense. But at the end, I'll be honest, I didn't look at my phone. I didn't want to look at my phone. I didn't want to do anything other than just hold my breath and wait for it to be over. But when I did talk to him, we just had a great moment of just kind of in awe and shock about even as much as he's accomplished and this company has accomplished. When we do things like today, especially something that's never been done before, the 1-2-3 finish at Martinsville, he's just so humble and appreciative, and I love that about him. And then all I wanted to do was find this guy because I know how much he wanted to talk to him to say thank you. And he was so busy doing burnouts and banging the nose off the wall. And but so I finally got the phone to William. So that was awesome.
What did he say to you guys, William and Rudy?
I never remember. I don't know. It's such a blur, and that's not.
By the way, that's a quote of the day. I cannot wait to tell Rick. Hey, Rick. By the way, William never remembers what you say to him when he wins.
Excited. I don't remember. I just black out. From checkered to obviously hitting the wall and the burnout. I don't know. Something was going on.
Yeah, our conversation, my conversation with Rick always happens after we get the all clear and the handshake from Brad Moran. So that's how it goes. That's how he takes it with me. So we take a phone call, and it's usually pretty special, but we haven't got that far yet.
Thank you. And we'll take one more for either Jeff or Rudy right here.
This one's for Jeff. Damian Sorlett with Roanoke Times. That last caution comes out. Did you have flashbacks of 2012 when you and Jimmy had the field covered? Late caution comes out, late restart. And were you just hoping that the third Hendrick car stayed out to make sure you didn't have a dive bomb going into turn one?
And the fourth. Yes. I mean, I was just... I'm sure you saw me. I jumped up off the pit box practically off the side. I don't know how Rudy stays so calm.
You should have seen me in the car. I watched him. I watched his brakes fail right next to me. I'm like,
what'd you do to him when you went by? So of course I did, because that was a moment that still haunts me to this day. Of course, I remind Boyer he could have had a second clock had he not screwed that up. But I mean, I'm listening on the radio and hearing these guys communicate, and it's just so cool to listen to them talk about, what we have to do, not just to try to win the race, not just try to get 1, 2, 3, but how to bring this home for the company, but most of it was them talking about what's everybody going to do, what are we going to do, and I think right away. And they have all these thresholds of laps to the end and kind of what the best options are. But I think right away they all wanted to stay out and were planning to stay out. But it still was all about what others did. And when the 11 was kind of the only guy that came down, I mean, I think right then and there we all took a bit of a sigh of relief, a small one. Because still had to get through the restart. But we were getting through a restart with guys on similar tires, right? That thing that happened that day was we were the only two. And I think tires were a bigger deal back then, and everybody had new tires behind us. So we knew we were going to lose. I didn't know we were all going to wreck down in turn one. But but then I think the first thing in my mind was, all right, we just need one green, white checker restart, right? Because Denny could come hard and fast on those newer tires, and depending on how the lineup is, if you have one or two, or a second or a third, then it could have been a whole different outcome. So I was super happy when they went through 1 and 2. They went through 3 and 4, and he took the white flag. At that moment, I was like, okay, I think we got the win. Are we going to get 1, 2, 3? And I will say I loved all the fight all of our teams had in them today, because I saw both Chase and Kyle fighting hard to I don't know if they're fighting hard to try to finish second, maybe hoping something happened they could win, but they to me, I looked at it as they were fighting hard to bring home a 1, 2, 3.
Okay, Jeff, Rudy, appreciate it. Congratulations on this historic win.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll continue on with our race-winning driver, William Byron, and we'll start in the back here to Mark Garrow, and then come on up front.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
Mark Garrow, PRN. Way back in the cheap seats, William. Congratulations first. Hendrick Motorsports, when it comes to these big moments, has a way of writing endings like somebody would make for a Hollywood movie.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about those organizations that keeps coming up with these kind of scripts that nobody can imagine? And today is another one. Not only do you win, then you got to go 1, 2, 3 just to put an exclamation point on it.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because my Ashley was telling me today that the script was written. We were gonna win. I was like, I don't know how you had that panned out with us starting 18th and can't pass at this racetrack. So it just worked out. But yeah, I mean. To answer your question seriously, I think it's just a lot of hard work, attention to detail, and when you walk in the doors at Hendrick Motorsports, it is just fascinating to me how clean everything is, how nice everything is, and then how the culture is with the people inside there, and being able to go up to anyone and ask a question. There's a real racer's mindset to go fast and compete, but at the same time, they took me in with open arms, when I was 20 years old, and made me feel at home. So I think that's special, and you don't have that everywhere.
You've won a lot of races here lately. I think we were talking a moment ago, 9 of the last 44. What's it feel like to be no longer a surprise in victory lane, but a regular in victory lane?
Yeah, I mean, I think the more times that you win races, the more you realize how difficult it is and how many things have to go right. And just to stay on that edge to have what it takes to win is difficult. So we've been working super hard. I think we've learned and refined some things as we get through stretches where we have some difficult runs. But there's less doubt in our team that we can do it. And I feel like that is a unique thing that comes with winning races, is knowing that you're capable. If you get everything right and you do your job, you can still win. So but yeah, everyone's really hard. I mean, today it was obvious, we had a great car, but it was really difficult to get to the front.
We'll go to Bob.
Bob Parkhurst, Fox Sports. Overtime restart a week after all the controversy on restarts. Did you, was there any part of you wondering where to go? Yeah. and did that play in your mind at all during those tons of laps under caution?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think about it. Yeah, I didn't want to jump because I knew that was I'd be the first example made. But at the same time, just thinking about how can I not spin my tires? How can I get a good launch? I got an okay launch. I got to look back at it. And I felt like the guys around me, because knowing the restart zone, knowing the position I'm in, being vulnerable with what happened last week, they took advantage of that, and they had a little bit better launch than me. So yeah, it stinks that it kind of, that things like that happen and you have to kind of adjust, but that's just the nature of competition. And I felt like I still had a decent launch and still was able to get into 1 and 2 and have a decent restart.
We'll go to Dustin next.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Obviously, the last time you were here, you were almost gassed and overheated and on the pit wall there for a long time. And to go from that to today, and I know there were other circumstances to lead that. What is that like, and how different the last fall to today is for you? Because I mean, you looked awful at the end of that race. Yeah,
I mean, I was spent last fall, and I think that brought a lot of anxiety and nightmares coming up here this time, and I think that just coming up the road and thinking about what's the progress we've made inside the car, we've been working on it nonstop to try to get my helmet and fan feeling better, and then I've been doing a lot of work in the off season, working out and things of that nature, so it all adds up. But our car, we had a really tough day in the fall. It was one of the worst, experiences as a team, but one of the best experiences to realize the resilience that our team has. And I think that showed today, because it was really hard to pass and things were tough out there. But I just knew I had the team behind me, and I knew what experience we had been through in the fall with a bad car, and to take a good car and be able to still knife through traffic and things of that nature was definitely rewarding. So yeah, it's really a 180, but I think that that fall race gave us a lot of fuel to be able to come back here and try to create another good memory.
And I'm also curious, look, there's only so many days of the week. There's only so many hours. There's only so much you can do. There's all these other races that you've got to focus on. But to struggle like you did last fall, and even the company as a whole for the most part, how much effort goes into a weekend like this, or even the last two, because I know you guys have talked about short tracks, because there's other races to focus on. So how much of a focus has the last two, or even this race in particular, been for you and your group?
Yeah, I mean, we treat every race the same. We prepare, but they're not. But we prepare equally as hard. But I would say that long term, we knew that the short tracks were a weakness, and so we started working on that in the off season. And we just like we did on the road courses, we just had to take baby steps. And we just said, okay, can we finish 10th? Can we finish 5th? Can we lead laps? And it just, until we checked those boxes, I knew we weren't gonna go to Richmond and win, because we weren't there yet. But we had a great test, we had a great Phoenix, and we started stacking some things. And it's tough in this sport. You can't just go from running 12th to winning, but you definitely start stacking some things, and I feel like our team did that. And I know I have the confidence in our group that if we start hitting on some things, then and just putting races together, we can do it.
Go to Jacob next.
Jacob Zillman, Raceface Digital. William, two for you. First, they told the story on the broadcast for those who didn't already know. Your first race that your dad ever took you to at 8 years old was here. You've got two clocks here. Today being the 40th anniversary win. Does this all just add up to, I know Charlotte's home, but make this as special a place for you as anywhere we go?
Yeah, it's always been special here. I think that it's just kind of been in life cycles, really. Like, I feel like when I came here as a race fan, it was all about trying to be close to the sport and watch it. And then I had the period of time when I got to know or understand the industry more. And my buddy Stefan took me to Martinsville, and we sat on the pit box of Phil Parsons' race team in turn 4 and watched the race. And I was about 12 at that time, and that was right before I started racing. And yeah, I think, and then I started racing, and I had my first truck race here, finished 3rd. And so it's just kind of like different life cycles that I've been through, and this is always kind of that place that you come back to and try to remember how much progress you've made from the last time. So it's a tough place. Definitely didn't realize how tough it was from watching in the stands. It's a grind out there. So it's a rewarding place to come here with your team, because it takes everyone.
For being the kid that grew up not only dreaming of driving for Rick, but building your career with him pretty much every step of the way you have, does the reality that you sit in now, a 500, this win, I mean, everything that you've done the last couple of years, could you have pictured that being reality as a 15-year-old kid just starting out years ago?
I don't know. I just know that I knew where I wanted to be, and I knew that if I put the work in, I felt the first time I got in a race car, I felt the feel that I had for everything going on. But it took a lot of work to catch up, and I don't know. I think I just try to stack years, year after year, and try to learn more, and I'm surrounded by great people, and I think that's the key in the whole thing is people that believe in you and having a chance to go out there and give you what you need.
Check up in the press box. Any questions in the press box? Okay, we'll bring it back down here. We'll go to Zach and then John.
Zach Sterniolo, NASCAR.com. William, you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but what does it say about the resolve of the number 24 team and Hendrick Motorsports as a whole when you're able to set such a specific target to improve on those short tracks and see those results come to fruition, especially on a day like today where all 4 of you guys were running top 10 all day?
Yeah, it's just trust and communication during the week. Just getting, having those honest conversations that were difficult of things that, I could improve, and then things that they could help me with the car. And you just try to put the egos aside and just think about what does the race car need to do better, and we just really try to focus on it that way. And we had some good conversations after Martinsville here. I think we finally, last year here in the fall, we were finally honest with each other about where we are on these tracks and just slowly start to chip away. And it's just been a productive off season, productive few months to be able to make progress on it.
And then we'll wrap up with John in the front here.
John Newby, NBC Sports. So I know that obviously hard work, fast cars, those all go into winning. But can you give me a better sense of why, like, you've been able to go on this tear? Because from an outside perspective, it seems like, you know, in football, how veteran players say that the game slows down for them.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't slow down, but I think that you just I don't know. I just feel like I trust myself a little bit more, and just I know during the week that the preparation and the things going on are going to equate to the results. And when you've had those things happen in the past, you start getting a rhythm to it. It just starts stacking. So, but there's still, the sport is really competitive. It's not like football. You don't win half or 3/4 of the games. I watch a lot of hockey, and they win a lot, or they tie or go to overtime, and we don't win a lot in this sport. And it's very similar to golf. There's a lot of elements that have to go right. So I just feel like it's just trying to chip away and be mentally strong.
Well, William, congratulations, and thanks for the time. Good luck at Texas.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. I got a middle seat for between the video.